coming back to you today, continuing the beautiful spiritual stories worth sharing. This is a bonus from last year's playlist because it was such an amazing story and I didn't want you to miss it. So, have you ever noticed when you come upon people and you just are drawn to them right away? And I know the answer is because of their energy. There's something that is in alignment with you and, it connects. Well, what's amazing about my next guest, Anthony Bailey, you're about to meet him. He's part of a beautiful YouTube community that I have gotten very close to. It's his story. It's that he chooses to make a difference in the world. He chooses to be happy. He chooses to make a difference. And he has come through more tragedy and he has seen things that no child should ever have to be around. And he has come out the other side, and he shares his story, but more importantly, he has created a whole community awareness to helping others through what he had to endure. So what does all that mean? You're about to find out. I can't wait for you to meet this gentleman. He lives in California and he has a great story and a great community, running for grace. Curious what all that is? You know what you got to do. You got to stay listening. That interview, that story is coming up next. So Anthony, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day I know we had a little mess up because I'm time zone challenged. You're in California, I'm in Florida, so there's definitely a time zone difference. It's still morning for you, afternoon for me. So whether people are listening to this on our podcast, the Intuitive Mindset Podcast with Genie Lynch, or watching this on our beautiful HD color on YouTube, we truly do appreciate the audience. So I'm excited. You and I met because we're part of a YouTube community, and we're both actively out trying to get more subscribers on our channels, but that's not the real important thing. The important thing is that we both feel that we have a message that we're trying to share. And I saw your YouTube and I started following you right away because of one key word. You said running for grace, I think it was. Is that the right
Run for Grace. That's my nonprofit organization.
Okay. So today we're going to let my audience and your audience know more about that. And this is part of the Spiritual Stories Worth Sharing platform that I've kicked up for 2020. Got a couple more interviews to go. And I am so excited to hear your beautiful story today. So my audience can get to know you. Tell us a little bit about you and kind of what was the experience that happened that placed you into this beautiful spiritual story we're sharing.
Okay, wonderful. I'm excited to be here too, Jeannie. This is amazing. And I thank you before we start that you reached out to me and asked me to do this. I'm honored to be able to share my story with you and the audience. But, okay, so I'm 30. I wish I was 30. I'm 43 years old. I'm here in Lancaster, California. This is where I was born and raised. It's a beautiful desert community about an hour and a half from Los Angeles.
Okay.
But unfortunately, my upbringing wasn't exactly the best. I was born into very difficult circumstances. My mother and father were both addicts of alcohol, drugs, heroin, and they just had a very negative lifestyle. And due to that, I was born extremely small, and I pretty much carried that with me throughout my life. But after my mother and my father divorced, which was actually 3 months after I was born, my mother went and found another guy who was more stable. He had a good job, but he also had his issues. He was an addict also of drugs and alcohol, but he had a good job. He worked for, I believe it was NASA or something out here in the Antelope Valley. This is an aerospace community, so a lot of people worked there. But he ended up getting addicted to drugs himself, along with mental illnesses he had, and it caused a lot of rage. He would have hallucinations, thinking that the Russians were spying on him, and so he spent hours looking for these people that were staring at him. And as a little kid, you're petrified. You're thinking, "Oh my gosh, is someone staring at me? There's people hiding in our attic."
Yeah.
Like,
how old is kid? So To help me
I'm like,
understand.
I'm like 7, 8 years old
Okay, got
when
it.
it started. I mean, but he always had anger issues.
Yeah.
He would, beat my mom, beat us, just very mentally and physically abusive man. But then when he did the drugs and got into that, it just amped it up even more. And so that went on from I was like 8 until I moved out. And he ended up losing that good job he had. We ended up being on government assistance, and it was nothing but mental abuse and physical abuse. And so when the cops would knock on the door, it was no surprise.
Right.
It was actually, oh, thank God somebody's here to save us. But that was a
Any other
normal occurrence.
any other
So
brothers and sisters, or is it just you at
I had
home
two
at this
sisters. I
point?
had my older sister, which was from my father,
Yeah,
and I had a stepsister who was a half sister who was a product of my mother and my stepfather.
got it.
So of course there was no favoritism going on with my half sister because it was she was
Right.
his, and we were from this other man. So of course there was always that divide. But of course my younger sister doesn't have the same experiences that me and my sister had
Got
because we
it.
were treated differently. But yeah, there's a lot of horror. Like my mother was also, drug addict and alcoholic, and then she went through deep depression, and she was getting beat all the time and being chased around by knives and just all kinds of awful things. So this is the things I witnessed as a kid.
Yeah.
And so I saw the effects of alcoholism. And I was like, when
So
I grew
let
up,
me stop you there too, because first off, let me just acknowledge that I'm so sorry that was your experience, right? That you had to witness and be part of that. And we don't know, they always say kids are so resilient.
mm-hmm,
You're in this silo or this box living this experience. You don't know any other life but the life you're living. So you could assume at that point that everyone's having the same experience. You moved out early, I think the story goes, right? So then you had your own little journey. So how did you finally break free? And when did you actually, my real question is, when did you start to see your parents not through the lens of a child, but more like, this isn't right? When did you know that for yourself?
luckily, I had some great people in my life growing up in my neighborhood that was kind of guiding me towards Christianity
Function.
and all that. But so I saw, like, I knew that we were different.
Got it.
And the whole time I'm like, why can't I have a family like that? I was always very jealous of other families and how much they had. And so I was always aware of that. But thank God for these people that were in my life, because who knows, if they weren't around, I might be in jail or dead now. But since
Got
I
it.
saw that, it's kind of like I compared myself, okay, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I had that
Yeah.
self-awareness.
Well, I love
So at
that.
18,
And Anthony, isn't that what we're trying to do with our channels and our message too, is to be that light for other people that
mm-hmm,
might not know there's a better or another way to do it, right? So I
yeah.
love this. Okay. I hate your story, but I love what you're saying. So keep going. This is great. I guess my next question would be, how did this change your life? Obviously, you moved out at how old?
Once I got a job at 17 at McDonald's through a
Okay.
friend, thank God.
All
And then
right.
18, once I hit 18, I was still in school at 18 because I was a year behind. So I was still in school, and I moved out. Once I hit 18, I was out. I moved in with a couple of friends.
Got it.
But from that moment, I had to learn myself. I didn't know because I was in defense mode for 18 years.
Yeah.
I could never really defend on who's Anthony. So that's when I finally had to learn I had to get out of this. I was emotionally challenged. I was physically challenged. I didn't know how to interact with people. I was
Yeah.
always like that scared little chihuahua all the time. And so once 18 hit, I had to learn myself, like I said. And then at 21, even though I saw what the effects of alcohol can have on people, I became an alcoholic myself. I went to a party with a buddy of mine, had a couple of shots, and from there I got self-esteem from that alcohol, and it is a whole new life. Like, oh my, this is wonderful. It's like almost I discovered something amazing. Like, oh, this is a whole new side of Anthony. This is the confident Anthony. This is the outgoing Anthony, not the scared, timid Anthony. And that's what alcohol gave to me.
Got it.
But yeah, but like most things are fun. I had fun. Of course, you're young. You go to clubs with your buddies, and you go dancing. You meet girls. You have all that good time. But after 14 years of that, at 34, at 35, I was at a place where it became very dark. I mean, I would spend even though I had a good job, thankfully I got a job at the city of Santa Monica, and I was able to take care of my son that I had with the relationship earlier. I was able to take care of him, have my own apartment, had a car, but I lived like a double life. I go to work, come home, and end up drinking until like 2 or 3 in the morning.
So here's my
Hungover
question.
almost every day.
Having a
Mhm.
similar kind of backdrop life. Okay. So issues with alcohol myself. I can say there was this moment where I could stand in full view of my addiction and say, I need to make a change, like, so I remember that experience for myself. I called my parents and said, you need to pick me up. Dad never knew why he was picking me up. I called my
Wow.
sister Sue and said, can I move in with you? I need some support right now. And really told nobody that I was going through this experience, but my own internal knowing that I had an alcohol problem and I needed to get away from alcohol. So what was your moment that took you there? I mean, 14 years of it. So did you have many or one, or can you share that with us?
Well, I like to share it's this little voice, and I think we all have it. It's that little voice in the back of your head that says, you can do better than this. You're better than this, Anthony. But I kept ignoring it. Shut up, little voice. But eventually, the hangovers and the bad life decisions, I just had enough of it. I just like this. Yeah.
Spirituality, we call it victim consciousness, where you're just in that place of being victimized, right? I have no power over this. This is the life I've been given. I'm in the job I can't stand. I'm in the apartment I don't like. And because everything is on everybody else except for me. So somehow, what was your, it's one of my questions too. At what or who was the point of inspiration that moved you into this, who you are today? I heard the voice. So what help did you get?
Well, I decided to finally listen to that little voice. And I said, I'm going to go to church one day. I'm going to go to this church and to see what, instead of drinking on a Saturday night, I decided not to drink. And I woke up fresh. I went to church and actually went back to the same church I went to as a young kid, but I kind of shunned God because every time I would go to church, it seemed like something bad would happen at home. So I was non-religious for years. So I went to church, and would you believe it? And I was like the most negative person, Genie. I was so negative. Everything was, and this preacher, David Parker, he's on the pulpit and he's saying, how can you live in such a negative life? How can you look yourself in the mirror and be so negative on yourself? And I'm like, whoa.
He's talking to me.
I'm like, what? Where are the cameras at? And it was just like a sign. And it's like, from that moment on, I kind of eased and I started going to church a little more, going to the bars less. I mean, it's a gradual change. And I started going to the gym a little more. And that was like, to answer your question, that was the source of information that started my
healthy choices,
getting out of that life. Yeah.
Did you ever go through AA and counseling, or
I tried a few times, a couple of times. I'd go to AA meeting from here to there, but it didn't speak to me. I was just like, I'm not in these people's level. I didn't run over somebody with a car. I mean, I always put myself, I'm not that bad. But I was. Just in a different frame.
Well, they always say you can't fix what you don't know is broken, right? So, and I'm not saying you were broken, but needing to be healed or whatever that energy is. So obviously what this taught you, and I'm going to paraphrase you back because I think this is going to be your answer. It taught you your value. So this experience taught you that little voice in your head was your higher self, right? Knew exactly that you were better than this. So here you are, better than this. I love this. I want to know how you met your wife, and now you have 2 beautiful children. I'm assuming 2, right?
We have 3 blended. Our families are blended. She had 2, I have 1, but she's actually the second part of your previous question.
Okay.
And I met her shortly after I discovered myself, or started gradually getting out of this mode. And so we were together for about 6 months because I'm gonna seriously find a relationship. Instead of just finding somebody to just keep company, I'm actually finding a relationship. And I found her online. She was a Dodger fan. I'm a Dodger fan. So I said, hey, and she had kids. And so we met at a Starbucks. And once I saw her through that mirror, the window, I said, that's the one for me. And I had to give myself a pep talk. Anthony, go talk to her. You're going to win this girl over. You got to, and it worked. I don't know how it worked. And so 6 months into a relationship, it was on Mother's Day. And the night before, we didn't live together at the time. So she came over for Mother's Day, and I left my ashtray in the sink because I would drink and smoke when she wasn't around.
Got it.
And she called me and she goes, "We need to talk." And I said, "Oh no." And I remember I was busted. I left my ashtray in the sink. She saw it. And she says, "Okay, I know that I told you I don't care if you smoke, but now I'm in love with you and I care about your health. So it's either me or the cigarettes." And I think a man in his life has to make a tough decision, but that wasn't one of them. From that moment on, quit cigarettes. And I had to quit the drinking because the cigarettes led to the drinking and the drinking led to the cigarettes. And from that point on, she was that rocket booster that got me in, that started this train that I'm on now. I started going to the gym more. I started applying for the police department, and I got far into the police department process. I couldn't believe it. I thought, I could never make that, but I did it. For multiple departments, I passed all these tests. Luckily, it didn't pan out.
Okay.
I only say that because since it didn't pan out, I learned running from being part of the police department. I was running just to be part of being in shape.
Yeah.
But I discovered my passion for running through the police department training. And that's when I ran my first marathon, a few months after I got the rejection letter saying thanks, but no thanks. And I was so down on myself. And I was like, I can't believe it. This is my path. This is the path that's leading me on. How can he give me this letter? But then I ran my first marathon. And that led to my charity organization and my passion for running and changing people's lives. And it's amazing how you think there's a closed door and it leads to another one.
I love this. The no's aren't no's. They're just take left, go right, right? I love this. Yep. I love the fact that you've stated, I used to be a negative person and here you are. And I also am very mindful and very aware that, your mom and dad, when they were together, stepdad, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That they attracted each other because of where they were vibrationally, and that you attracted is she your wife right now?
Oh yeah, we got married in November 2017. That was the same year I ran my first marathon, and that's her behind me. You see, I had more hair back then, but that was an amazing year. And
so that these things coming into your life are in alignment with you. So let's talk about this beautiful charity organization you have and the whole mission you're on with your channel. I'm going to put all your links below so people can follow your journey. I'm going to follow this too. I just want to make sure. Before we get into that, I have to ask this question because it's one of my favorite on my interviews. If you knew then what you know now, what would you have changed, right?
Oh gosh. If I would have known that all I had to do was change my mindset from being negative to positive, makes a humongous difference. Because I thought it was all honky. I used to look at people that are doing inspirational speeches or watching these, being on these positive people, and I used to be so sickened by them. And to know that all you have to do is change your mindset opens the world. I mean, you wouldn't even recognize me right now, Genie. You wouldn't even talk to me right now.
And your wife would have walked by you and probably not taken that second date if you weren't the person you are today.
I mean, people would say good morning to me at work. My typical response, even though I kind of said it in a jokingly way, it was always, "What's so good about it?" But it's putting that out there.
Yeah.
And we try to teach our kids, do not speak bad about yourself. You may be joking, you might be just trying to be cynical, but it means something. You cannot put that negativity out there. So that would be the answer to your question. I would have taken on this positivity train much sooner.
I love it. Oh, I love it. I love your story, by the way.
Thank you.
So, okay, let's get into your charity organization and your on your YouTube channel. And really, I'm going to ask you a bold question that wasn't on my questions, but
okay,
challenge you.
Take
me out 5 years in this beautiful, timeline ahead of you that is just everything that you're working for today is coming to truth. it's in your experience and everything. You've crossed the finish line. Tell me what that looks like for you 5 years. What have you done 5 years from now when you've hit those goals? Run a marathon, Boston, that's what I want to know.
Oh yeah, Boston. That's my major physical running goal. But my goal that's bigger than that to me is, first off, I want to raise $1 million for one fundraiser. That's one of my major goals. $1 million. I'm hoping it's for the charity organization out here that inspired us to start this one, Grace Resources.
Okay.
That was our first fundraiser, first fundraiser. And that first fundraiser turned into Run for Grace. So I'm hoping 1 year I could raise $1 million for them. But I want Run for Grace to be, I want it to be worldwide, internationally. I mean, 5 years from now, a little hard to do, but no, I'm hoping that we expand. True. Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
This video is going to go viral, and people donations are going to come in. So with all the links below. So take us through what Run for Grace charity organization, who does it serve?
It serves the less fortunate, those in need, and we also assist in the prevention of homelessness. And we do this while promoting an active lifestyle with an emphasis on running. And so what we majorly do is we form teams, or what we mainly do is form teams to fundraise in like 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons, maybe ultras one day, who knows?
Okay.
But now since COVID hit, there's no races. So we have to think of outside the box other ways of doing it. So we actually formed a running group, which is associated with LA Roadrunners, which is part of LA Marathon. And we decided, how can we have that running group and connect it with our personal mission statement? And so instead of having an entrance fee to a running group, all we ask is people give a itemized donation to a specific charity organization every month that we sponsor in our community. And so we take those collections every Sunday and at the end of the month, and we give them to that charity. Every month is a different charity we help.
Oh, I love that. So if people, first off, to follow you right now, what do people do? So I can put the link below. Do they click onto your YouTube, or do they click onto your website? How do people get involved with your organization?
Or they can go to www.runforgrace.org. Okay. All of our links are there. They can go to my personal Instagram, my YouTube, my Facebook. Look up Running for Your Best Life.
Okay.
That's my
YouTube channel.
Name. Yeah.
Okay.
And I keep all the links there. I mention it all the time. So when you go to any of those things, it's impossible not to find it, because I want to promote it as much as I can.
Okay. Well, that's why we're talking today. We want to love and support you through that mission. So I love this.
Thank you so much.
Such a great point of inspiration too, to talk about, was choosing to release the negativity and choosing to be happy and choosing positivity. Was it easy or the hardest decision you've ever made?
That's a tough one. I gotta say it's hard, because when you're stuck in one way for so long, it's hard to. And I'm kind of person. I like being set in my ways. Yeah. So it was like a total shift, like a shock to my body almost. And there were times, like I'd say, when the first year of not smoking, I'd be in the parking lot outside of my apartment waiting to go in for work and going, Anthony, you can tell Jen that this isn't working and go right back to where you were. You could stop having these wants of having that cigarette or that beer or that shot. It would be that easy, but I didn't. And that was hard. Sometimes it was like, Anthony, just go in there and tell her it's over, can't do it. But I didn't. And look what happened. You have to push past it. You're gonna have those moments of you got to go back. But as long as you can teach yourself just to, let me just wait till tomorrow, see how I feel tomorrow. And you're going to wake up fresh, and you're going to start the whole new day again. And I'm still doing it.
Your self-taught skill set really just amazes me. So I think that's a point of inspiration for so many people. So I think that's beautiful. So here's where we're heading. We're heading into almost the end of our interview. I know it's going to seem like it flew so fast, but we've actually covered quite a bit today. I'm wondering, when you knew I was going to interview you today and you were all psyched, well, first off, I was just psyched to meet you because I've been following you on your YouTube channel. So I already felt like I knew you. Is there anything that you were hoping, my platform and you were thinking, God, I'll have a chance to get this message out. Have I forgotten anything?
Well, I want to remind people that you're not imprisoned by your past. You're not, just because you're born into rough circumstances or you dealt with a situation that was difficult, don't use that as a weakness. Think of it as a strength. Because during my marathons, when I'm going through those 18, 19 miles and you're hitting that wall, I have this mantra that goes through my head, and that is, Anthony, you've been through worse. You've been through worse. And that pushes you forward. So don't think of your situations as weaknesses. They are your strengths. And so that is the message I want to get out to people.
That serves the end of our interview too. So I'll remind people too in the thread of that if you're angry about anything, that anger has everything to do with the past. And if you're worried, it has everything to do with the future.
Yeah.
And the only place that you can manifest anything, good, bad, or indifferent, is right now. That I'm just amazed by you. I'm amazed by your choice to not forget, but to move past your past, to move on to the future, to serve others, because that's really what we're all here to do. So I love that. Guess what? You know what that means?
That?
We're moving into rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
So fun music's kicking up. We're going to have a good time. This is my chance to say thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. I felt like and feel like I've made a new friend. So we'll see you in our group, right?
Yes, ma'am.
My first question is, what is your favorite book or spiritual teacher?
My favorite book is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh, never heard of that. We'll have to look into that. I'll put the link below. If you were going to change the world today, the world needs what in order to be changed?
Challenges are not their weaknesses.
We're all here to learn a life lesson. What do you think your life lesson has been, Anthony?
I am worthy.
Yes, you are. What do you love about yourself?
This is a love-hate relationship, actually. It is my competitiveness. I'm very competitive with myself and with others, but at the same time, I don't like that competitiveness and the negative, but it pushes me forward. So I'm still kind of balancing that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And what are you doing when you're experiencing joy?
Well, I love my family, I love my wife, I love my kids, but I'm a complete introvert, so I love being alone.
That is such a beautiful way to end. So thank everybody for being part of this today and watching. So whether people are listening to this on the Intuitive Mindset podcast or watching this in beautiful HD color on our YouTube channels, we truly do appreciate you. So thank you, Anthony. I'm so happy to get this time with you today, and I hope we can get you to reach that goal, all those goals, the 5-year plan. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jeannie. The honor is all mine. I appreciate this.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. And as Anthony says better than me, don't forget to run your best life. Please check out Anthony Bailey's media links. They're in the description. Thank you, Anthony. Have a great day. Namaste.